My name is Ilya Bezdelov. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Metacast. In this short video, I'm going to show you the end-to-end process of how we create our own podcast, Metacast Behind the Scenes. We will start from the recording process, what microphones we use, what cameras, what software, and then we will edit the podcast episode in Descript and post-produce it in Reaper with the help of iZotope RX sound effects. And finally, we will publish the episode on Anchor, also known as Spotify for podcasters, on YouTube and Substack. We hope you enjoy this video and it's really helpful to you. Let us know what you think in comments. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, and also check us out at metacast.app. Metacast is an amazing podcast app that we're pretty sure you will enjoy. Just give it a try. Now, enjoy the video. But first things first. Can you hear the sound? All of that hum? That's from my air conditioning. Another problem I want to fix right now is the reverberation in this room. Reverberation is when the sound is reflected from walls and ceilings and other hard surfaces. And as you can see, in this room, the ceilings are very, very high. And also I have all of those glass windows and walls. I put some sound panels there. I put some carpet on the floor. But still, a lot of sound is still being reflected, and that's no good. We want to minimize reflections as much as possible. So I'm going to close those windows. You can see that it affected the amount of natural light that comes into the room. We're going to counter that by using an external light. I bought some very cheap lights on Amazon. They were about $100 for 4 lights and a couple of backdrops, like the green screen and a black screen. That will do for our podcast. We are not targeting video as much. We just want to make sure that audio is good and we have some video. So yeah, this light is good enough. Now let's talk about the most important thing that you need for your podcast. It is a microphone. This is Shure MV7, which I've been using for most of the podcast recording. More recently, I've been using another microphone for recording. This is Shure SM58. It's a classic vocal microphone that's used in concerts, and the reason why it's so popular is because of its design. It only picks up the sound that comes directly into it. You probably might have seen how singers almost like swallow this microphone when they sing. That's because it picks up the sound right next to it and ignores the sound outside of it. And in my room that has a lot of reverberation, I also have a bunch of external noises like lawnmowers because I'm here in Florida. This mic helps me reduce the sound. So this mic is about $100. Then I also bought this pop filter, which is another $10, I think. The pop filter helps you minimize the plosive sounds. In English language especially, when you say sound P, a lot of air comes out of your mouth. And then if it goes directly into the mic, it creates a very unpleasant effect. So this pop filter helps to stop that air rushing out of your mouth and make the sound more pleasant. As you can see, MP7 also has the pop filter, but it comes with the filter, whereas for SM58, you have to buy it separately. So SM58 costs about $100, but it does not plug directly into your computer. It has a connector called XLR, which is a traditional connector that's used for microphones and PA systems. It's analog signal and it needs to be digitized. So in order to digitize that signal, we use a thing called the audio interface. And I use Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, which is a device that supports two inputs. You can see that I'm also using a boom here. This boom is really nice. It doesn't have any springs. It's all internal. It's a really cool design. I think it was about $100. You don't have to pay so much for a boom. I just wanted one that looked sexy. You can get one for probably $30 or $40. Now let's look at the camera setup. We record our podcast in both audio and video, and we use our iPhones in the continuity camera mode. That's how this looks. So I have the iPhone on a selfie stick with a tripod. You can get one of those on Amazon for $20 to $30. It's connected to the computer wirelessly through the continuity camera mode on a Mac. And this gives us an amazing quality of video, and also you don't have to spend money on an extra camera. The only caveat here is that you can see it obstructs the view, because I want my camera to be at my eye level, so that when I look at the screen, my gaze looks as if I'm looking into the camera. And you can see that I set up this window such that my guest, or whoever I will be talking to, will be somewhere in here, so that when I look at them, I'll be looking right underneath the camera, and it will look like I'm looking at the viewer. And I use the browser called the Arc browser, and I split the window into two panels. One of them is for SquadCast, where we record the video, and the other one is for the notes that we use for the plan of the episode and topics and all the stuff that we want to cover during the recording. All right, now let me show you how we do the recording. For recording, we use SquadCast, which was recently acquired by Descript. It's a web-based audio and video podcast recording software. It's very easy to create an account. We already have one, so we'll just log in. And when we record episodes with guests, we schedule a new session. We just say schedule a session, and give it a name. And once you fill in the details, the schedule and all that, it will create you a link. We will just take this link, paste this into a calendar invite, so our guests can just click the link. They're taken to SquadCast. They don't have to install any software. They don't have to fiddle with anything. They just connect and we record. It's very, very easy. We really love the convenience of this process. So now we've created the session, and we can start that session. But before we do that, so in Arc browser has the feature of creating a window splits. So I'll just go to this Google Doc that we have with the plan for the episode that we want to record. So as you can see, now I have both SquadCast on the left and my notes on the right, which is kind of cool because I can see both notes and the recording without having to mess with a bunch of windows, because it's all in the same window. So Arc browser is free, download it, it's awesome, it's based on Google Chrome. It's an amazing browser, can't recommend it enough. So we'll start the session, and this is arguably the most important step because this is where you choose your setup. So I'll type my name here, and for the microphone, I would normally use Shure MV7, but because I'm using the MV7 now for the recording of this video, I don't want to mess with it. So I'll choose the built-in microphone for the Mac. But yeah, normally this would be the proper microphone that you choose. It already picked up my iPhone camera here. So in Mac, if you lock your phone, it can be used as a camera. And so these pictures are coming from my phone that's on the tripod. We usually record in 720, 1080 we had a couple of issues with. It's not worth the effort and also the file size, in our opinion, at least not yet. So we always do 720. And then for speakers, we use either professional headphones like this, or more recently we've been using AirPods because they're just much more convenient. They're right in your ears. You don't have to be tied with a cable. It's just so much easier. The one thing to watch out though is once you connect your AirPods, SquadCast will by default pick AirPods as a recording device, and that's gonna sound awful. So you wanna make sure that you choose the right microphone here. So yeah, now so we have the microphone setup, camera setup. AirPods is our headphones. We don't need echo cancellation because with headphones there is no sound coming out of the speakers. But if you use a speaker or a built-in speakers in your laptop, you may want to use echo cancellation to avoid unnecessary echo in your recording. So now I click join the session, and here it is. This is the window of SquadCast. I like to press this button called contain video because then I can see the full picture, and I can move my camera to align where I am in the recording. I want to make sure that I am centered, like this. Now, for the purpose of this recording, I don't have to mess with it, but I'll set it up such that I'm in the middle. Because I'm using the iPhone, I can choose things like portrait and studio light effects right here. Make sure you turn off reactions. So if you turn them on, you may end up with some really weird sound, really weird effects that may be wildly inappropriate. Let's say if you talk about something very deep, and then you do something like that, and then what happens is Apple might pick it up. How does it work? Might pick it up and start sending balloons to the air. That's going to be very inappropriate. So we always turn the reactions off. But portrait mode and studio light, I think it kind of looks nicer with that. So yeah, now we have this video here, the notes here. As we go through the recording, we tick off the items that we've, oops, I think I pressed my keyboard with the tripod. So it's something to watch out for. And now, more people will join. They will appear here, just like in the Zoom or Google Meet call. Take my word for it. It's very nice, very easy to use. So now we hit the record button, and SquadCast starts recording. So as you can see, there is a clock here that shows how much we've recorded so far. And yeah, so everything that's been said after this will be recorded. One important thing here is that you can go to the participants pane and see what devices each of your participants uses. I can see only mine right now, but if more people join, I'll see theirs as well. And the cool thing here is that, if I stop the recording, I can actually modify my setup. I can also modify a setup for other people, or I can at least verify that they use the correct equipment. Like if somebody has a mic in front of them, but here it says AirPods, I'll make sure to ask them to change their microphone to whatever microphone they were intending to use. Yeah, so yeah, we hit the record button. It's been recorded. As it's recorded, it's recorded locally and uploaded as we speak. So the audio and video is recorded in high resolution, and even if there is internet connectivity issue, the audio and video should not be corrupted because it's recorded on your computer. Once the recording is done, you can see here it shows the status of uploads. You want to make sure that you don't close the window of the browser window until the recording is finished. Yeah, once the recording is done, now it was very fast because it was a very short recording, but if it was a 2-hour-long episode, it might have taken a bit longer. Normally, after we finish the recording, we also take a squad shot, which is a picture of all of the participants. So we wait for 5 seconds, we make smile, and yeah, we get a nice picture framed like this. Yeah, it's not a very nice picture, but you get the point. We later use these pictures to create podcast episode covers. Yeah, so now we've recorded everything, we followed our checklist, so it's all good. Now we can leave the recording, go back to dashboard. I can also close this panel, I don't need it anymore. And I'm ready to go to the next phase, which is editing. But before we edit anything, we need to download the files. So I'll go to this demo2 project and click get all files. So because I click recording twice, it has 2 takes, take 1 and take 2. You can watch it here, or you can just download the file. I download MP4s. They are decent enough quality, both audio and video, so it's fine. I'll just save them in my downloads folder for now. And I also like downloading squad shots. As you can see, there is one nicely framed with the SquadCast logo and logo of our podcast, but I also can get individual pictures and save those images wherever I want them saved. So now we are done with the recording. So if in any case our video gets corrupted, there is also a cloud recording as a backup, which hopefully you'll never have to use. We had to use it only once, but this is basically like a Zoom call recording. It's not a very high quality, but in case you lose any of those recordings, this is a good backup. So now we've recorded, we've downloaded the files. Now we can go to the next step. The next step for us is to edit the podcast. And I'm going to take you on a journey with me to edit the episode that we recorded last week that we actually need to publish tomorrow. So we are going to be editing this together right now. So first of all, I need to download all of the files for this episode. And here in SquadCast, this episode 43, I can just download all of the MP4 files in one go. It can zip the files and get them all into one file for you, but because these files are so huge and it will be zipping them server side, it's going to be very slow. So I'm going to untick this and just download all of the files. I actually don't have to save them because I already have them saved, but you get the dynamics here. So you just go step by step, save those files. They are here in my folder. So that's how I name folders. So we have a folder for each of the episodes. So this is episode 43, and I have the source folder where I have the raw folder for raw files. And these are the 2 MP4 recordings from this podcast episode. You can see each of them is just over 1 gigabyte. That's a lot. And if you do 1080, there will be, I think, something like 3 gigs each. So that's a pretty big file. So now I'll go to Descript. And you'll need to go to descript.com, sign up for an account, download the software. I use the desktop version because I like it more than the web version. I also think as of this recording, it has more capabilities than the web version. So I'll create a new project. Oh, by the way, Descript is a tool where you can edit your video and audio using a transcript. So you can edit text as opposed to editing video or audio directly. Or you can do both, which is what I'm going to be doing. So we'll create a new video project here. And I'll just go to my Finder, get both of these files, drag and drop them here. I'll need to wait a little bit for Descript to add files, as you can see here. And once this is done, there it is. It asks me which language we use for transcription, so I'm going to choose English. It supports a bunch of other languages, but we've never used any of those. And I hit transcribe. And because we have 2 speakers here, you can do 2 things. You can either import them sequentially, so there will be one track first and then the second track. So we'll get 3 hours of recording where first Arnab speaks, then I speak. Or we can combine them into a sequence, and this is very important because both of these tracks are from the same recording, and we talk in parallel, so it is a sequence. In each of those recordings, we only have one speaker, so we only choose one. If we had to use the backup that I showed previously, we would choose as many speakers there were in that recording because all of the speakers are in the same file. But yeah, for now, we just choose one. I like giving speakers names so that it just looks nicer when I do the editing, and I click done. So now we'll just have to wait for Descript to transcribe this episode, and while we are doing this, we can go get a glass of water because it's gonna take a few minutes. All right. So now we have all of this transcribed and imported. As you can see in the Descript interface, we have the transcript here that has a transcript of the entire podcast, which is 1 hour, 7 minutes or so. You can see it's Ilya, it's Arnab, so it's all separate. It's really nice. And here at the bottom, we have, so this is the video pane. We don't need to be so large. I can just make it smaller. And here we have our audio tracks. And just like here, so I am shown in purple, our knob is shown in green, and some of those sounds like laughs, they are shown in black. And here we have the video. So first things first, right? So I want to play a little bit and just make sure that it all sounds all right. So I'll put my cursor somewhere in here and just play a little bit of the audio. By the way, we should not forget to take squad shots. Because I used... Kind of sounds weird because I hear myself only in the left ear. And I think that's because I was using my Shure SM58 for this. And yeah, that's just how it's been recorded in a single channel on the left. So I'm going to double click the audio. That's what I did. I double clicked. And here is actually what Descript means by sequences. So you can see these two tracks, our knob and mine. They are shown as two separate tracks in parallel to each other. That's what a sequence is. If I didn't do the sequence, it would be shown differently. It would be my track, and then after that, his track would be like stitched next to each other. But because it's a sequence, they are shown like that in parallel. And you can easily see here how, like we talk, there is a bit of overlap, so we are going to fix all of that a bit later. But now I want to fix the problem with my audio only being in the left channel. So I'll select my track here, and I'll go to audio, and so there's a thing called layer pan. You don't need to understand what it means, but if I set it to 50%, that should fix the problem. So panning, instead of being panned in the one ear, it would pan into both ears. And by the way, you also might have seen that I'm using professional headphones right now. I'm using Audio-Technica ATH50 connected with a cable, so I don't have any latency that might be caused by Bluetooth. All right, so let's play it again. We can play it right here in the sequence. Topic. Yeah. Finally. So yeah, I think we've covered a lot. Yeah, you can hear that it's now all in the middle, so I hear it in both ears. Another thing that we want to check is the volumes, levels of the speakers. Are they the same or are they different?
They're at the same time. It's like its own thing at this point.
Yeah. I think the thing that I didn't like... Yeah, go ahead.
The thing is, Meta has...
I think they're about the same level. We are going to correct the volume at the export stage anyway, but if the volumes were too different, we would want to correct them. And again, we will just go here, select the track, and we can adjust the volume right here. But we don't have to do it now because it sounds good to me. All right, so now we can start editing here. And so one thing that clearly is out of place is here you see we can talk about, oh, we should not forget to take squad shots. That should not be part of the podcast. That's what I call admin talk. So it's a conversation about how we are going to do the podcast, some kind of comments that are not part of the recording. So here I start with hello and welcome to the Metacast podcast. So I can just select all of this. So I was pressing the shift key. And I just delete this part of the transcript. And as you can see, the audio got automatically deleted and video as well, because video and audio are linked here. So yeah, just like that, we got rid of almost a minute of the content that we did not need. All right, we are ready to start editing. And this will be the most time-consuming and mundane process, but I'll show you all of the basics, then I'll just speed up the rest. It is just after noon in my time, 12:19. So let's see how long it takes to edit 1 hour, 6 minutes of a podcast episode. So let's get started. So first thing I'll do is I'll go into... Oh, they changed the interface. I actually don't know where it is anymore. Yeah, there it is. So I clicked on Actions, and there is Add Scenes by Active Speaker. So I'm going to do this first. What this will do is it will create a full-size video of the person who is talking at that moment. Just bear with me for a sec. Okay, so now we have a bunch of scenes, to be precise, 241 of them. And that's how it works. So here I'm talking, and this slash indicates that it is a scene, the different video scene. And if I go here Arnab is talking, so Arnab is shown to me again. So this is just a very convenient feature so that we can always show in full screen whoever is talking right now. So now I'll just have to listen through the entire thing and make edits. So yeah, let's go for it. Hello and welcome to the MetaCast podcast episode 9. So far it's going good. So I'm not going to make actually any edits to what I'm hearing right now, and I'll just listen until we have things that we need to edit, and then until then I'll speed it up. Let's listen to this. Today, Arnab, what are we going to talk about? I said Arnab, but here it says I don't know. Because the transcript is automatically generated by machine learning, that's just what you get from Descript. Sometimes it's not accurate, but it's still good enough for editing. That's true. So that so was a bit, we don't need it. So we can just do this. So you see, I took this edge of the clips and I just dragged it to the left. And now let's listen to this again. Manager. That's true. And so that so is just gone and we don't need it anymore. If you want to bring it back, I can just drag it back here, but we don't need it. So now we've taken away what was not necessary in this podcast. Also, you can see here there are some pauses. We could make them shorter, but I'm fine with those because they make the conversation sound more natural. So yeah, let's keep playing. Finally. So yeah. So here, also, I don't think we need this whole thing here. So I'll just remove that part so now I got I clicked the so word here and I just dragged it and it moved the video and audio. So let's listen to this again. To stick to one topic. So yeah, I think we've covered a lot of. You see, now it sounds better, I think, without that extra stuff that I was saying. And also the video transition is barely perceptible. So just look at this. So yeah, there's a bit of a jerk there, but that's okay. That's not really noticeable. And stick to it without kind of deviating on. So that kind of sounds, I don't know, like I can't speak properly. So I'm just gonna do this and drag it here. Let's see what it sounds like. And stick to it without kind of deviating on. So that kind of is also, I think, we don't need that kind of. Let's see what it sounds like. And stick to it without deviating on. Well, we will go on tangents, but without. So you see how I shortened all this stuff here and just make myself sound smarter, as if I don't say any filler words. So yeah, we are trying to make it easier for the audience. Yeah, but also.
So we'll try our.
Okay, so here Arnab interrupted me, and you can see here the green overlaps with purple, and you can't easily edit it here because I want to keep his stuff but remove mine. So if I do this, then that so is gone. So what I'll do instead, I just did the undo by pressing Command Z and then double click on this sequence, and I'll click here and I say split clip, and then I drag this part and it will remove what I was saying. So that now we created this space for Arnab to start talking, and what I started saying, it will no longer be there. But let's see if it corrupted the video. And it did corrupt the video indeed. As you can see here, that part is black now because if I go back to the sequence editor, there is nothing here. It's gone. So to address that, that's where scenes come in. This slash here, so you can see that the video starts 3 words into the sentence. To fix this, I can just take it here and drag it like that, so that Arnab's video will be shown instead of mine. I can also make this a bit shorter. So let's see how it works now. So yeah, we are trying to make it easier for the audience.
So we'll try our best.
So now, as you could see, there is no but also that I was saying, and it's gone now. And then it's just very clean transition to Arnab when, where he starts saying what he wanted to say. I think that was a very long pause. So here I'll right click and do split clip, because it's not because whatever I want to split is not on the boundary of the word. So it's just easier for me to split the thing. And I'll drag it here to remove that Let's listen to this.
You wrote it.
I know, maybe that's why I like it, yeah. I think my first exposure to social media was through BBSs, bulletin systems.
Bulletin board.
Bulletin
what
board
was
systems.
The first B? Oh, bulletin.
So here, even though we interrupt each other, it still sounds natural, so I'm just going to keep it as is.
Bulletin.
Download it, you read it. Okay, so here we started a topic. We started a topic about what was your first social media. So what I'm going to do now is I'll select this part of the transcript and I'll add a comment. And I'll call it first experiences with social media. And I'll use this later to create chapters for my episode. So yeah, for every time we change a topic, I'll create a comment. And then I'll be able to easily navigate to that part and see the timestamp of that piece. So now let's go back where we were and start playing again. And then other people download it. It's very asynchronous. So I said it's twice. We don't need that. Just drag it like that. Load it. It's very asynchronous. Software. So again, here there is a very long pause, and So let's see if I can shorten it. Also here it kind of cut the first part of the sound, so I'll extend it back. Bulletin board software.
That was the
PHP bulletin board software.
That was the common.
Oh, we don't need this. Okay, so I'll just do this. Oh, for some reason it shows I'm talking, but it shows Arnab's video. I'll just remove that slash, and now it's just the same scene, continuation of me talking, and I think that's fine. It will do the trick. Build it there. So here, you see, Arnab is saying a lot of this kind of, yeah, okay. So we want to drop that, because then later on it will work against us. So I'll just remove that from the sequence, because I can't remove this from here, because it's in parallel to my sound. So here you can hear that I'm coughing, and we don't want this here, so I'll just remove that part and be done with it. So here's the thing I'm doing right now. I found a good piece that will make for an intro. I'm selecting the entire thing and making a comment that it will be an intro, and I'm gonna use that later. I'm realizing that this could make for a good LinkedIn post, so I'll make another comment and I'll say LinkedIn, and then later on I can find this and mine this for creating a blog post. So now here I also want to add this podcast in the show notes. So I'll create a comment. Usually I just put a dot here, and then it indicates that there's something that I need to pay attention to. In this case, it is I need to add this to show notes. There was a dog bark. Yeah, we'll have to cut this out, but sometimes it happens when somebody is speaking, when Arnab is speaking, his dog barks, and we just keep it in because I guess that's just life. Okay, so here's an example of a plosive effect. I'll just play it. A post by Sam. A post, so it's a P. So I'll have to correct for this in post-production because I can't correct for this now here in Descript, but I'll have to remember that this needs to be done at a later stage. Towards the latter part of the episode, I'm no longer editing small stuff because if people have listened up to this point, it's okay. Actually, I have someone else do this for me, and they're much more diligent than I am. But this person couldn't do this episode, and that's why I'm doing this one myself. Okay, so I finished the edits, and it took me exactly 2 hours, from 19 past noon to 2:18. And the episode was reduced by 5 minutes. Usually when the other person does it, our editor, she would cut it maybe 5 more minutes down, because she would be a little bit more precise, but that's good enough. And I'll take a little break and we'll go to the next phase. So now the episode is fully edited. Took me 2 hours to do that. I have not added the intro to this because we don't add the intros to our videos because I just don't want to spend extra time editing. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to export this project, this video, as is, so that we get the video with this editing and can just publish it straight to YouTube. To do that, I'll hit publish. I'll go to export. I'll make sure I choose current composition. The resolution is max. Yes, 720. The quality is high. And here's an important thing. In the audio, so I keep 192 kbps, that's fine, but I'll choose normalize volume to -14 LUFS. So that will make it sound just like any other video on YouTube in terms of the loudness. And I don't think it's good enough just in general, but for a video, because video is not our primary medium, I think that's fine. We also could have used the studio sound feature of Descript, but I feel like with our setup, because our mics are pretty quiet, because we want to make sure that there is some headroom for editing, it overcompresses and it removes some endings of sentences, some words may get dropped. We tried studio sound, we just know we can do it better manually for audio, given the plugins that we already own. And for video, we feel like just normalizing the volume to a higher level will be acceptable and actually better, in our opinion, than using studio sound. So yeah, so I'm using normalizer volume, 14 LUFS, and make sure this is set to current composition, because if it's set to current selection, it will just export a piece of it, and you'll have to do it all over again. So now I hit export, and I'll go to our podcast, episode 43. I create a folder MP4, and I render it here. I click save. It's gonna take probably about an hour to publish this episode, to export it in MP4. So yeah, we'll just leave it alone and come back later. The video has been exported. Actually, it took probably 20 minutes or so, which is very good. And now I just want to check if the video is okay. Let me play it. Hello and welcome. At the end of each post, you would see something like, well, take, but without my cake, I'm active.
Random names. Most people use it like
For a moment, I was like, why is it only me when I click here? Where is Arnab? But yeah, there he is. So yeah, the video looks good. The sound sounds good to me. So yeah, we now have our video that's ready to publish on YouTube. Now we'll go into our next step. I want to add the intro to the episode because we don't do it for video, but I do it for audio. And I need to find the comment that was saying intro. Oh, intro, because I made a typo. So I'll just take this whole thing that I highlighted and I'll select it and click Command C to copy it, go all the way to the front, hit enter, and then hit enter again. What this has done is it added 2 5-second gaps, and I'll paste this here. So now what we have is, we have the stuff that I pasted as an intro and the 5-second gap. So that gap needs to be 3 seconds because I know that, because I know how my intros are structured, and I'll show later why this is important. Okay, so it's kind of hard to maneuver when you want to do precise adjustments. All right, so I want my intro to be about 30 seconds. There is way more stuff here than 30 seconds, it's about 45 seconds. So I'll now need to listen to it and make it shorter. Okay, so I made this intro last about 30 seconds. So I want to make it A, funny, B, I want both of us to be in the intro, right? So when I have a guest episode, then I'll prioritize that it's the guest's quote that is part of the intro. So now I have the intro, I have everything lined up, and I need to export these as audio files so I can continue editing them in my digital audio workstation. To do that, I'll double click on the audio stuff, and I'll first select Arnab's track, and I hit this S button, which singles out his track. So if I go here, now you only see green, there is no purple anymore. And I go to publish, I hit export audio, I'll select current composition because this part is now selected. It thinks I want to export only this part, but I want to export the whole thing. MP3 audio is fine. Metadata, don't need anything. In the advanced thing, I set the bitrate to 256 kbps. I want a bit higher quality audio for the post-production, but I'll turn off normalization of volume because I'm going to do it myself in Reaper. So now I click export, and I'll create a new folder. I call it Descript, and I export this track as arnab.mp3. So it's going to export this for a few minutes. All right, now I'll do exactly the same thing for my audio. So I'll undo the single thing on Arnab. I'll click mine and I say single. Now it's all purple, no green. Publish, export, audio. The settings should remain unchanged, so I just make sure that normalized is turned off. Current composition, hit export, and I name this file with my name. I usually do other things in parallel while I'm doing this, but for the purpose of the demonstration, I did not want to jump around too much. But this is highly inefficient to just sit and wait for a few minutes while this is going on. But we are all done right now, and we will go to the next step, producing the final audio for the episode. Now let's go into the next step. We are going to edit the audio we exported in digital audio workstation in Reaper. I already have a template that I use, so I'll just take the previous episode Reaper file and I'll copy it to my new episode folder. And I open it in Reaper. It's going to take a while because I've got a lot of plugins in there, so it's going to load them all first. I will ignore all missing files because it's a previous episode. It doesn't have all of the files that it needs to load, but that's okay. So this is Reaper, a digital audio workstation. It costs about $60 for the personal small business use, like I have. You can also use it for free for some time. It has a pretty generous trial period, I believe. We've got a few tracks for me, for Arnab, for Jenny, because it's a previous episode, so we had a guest there, and a track for music, and a track for outro music. First of all, we are going to clean this up and prepare this file for the new episode recording. So first of all, we don't need the Jenny track. And for all of the other ones, I'll just press Command A to select all of the items. I'll uncheck the music ones because we will need the music here. And I hit delete to remove them all. So now I'm going to import the tracks that we've exported from Descript. So I'll just go here, I'll import mine, and I'll import Arnab's. Okay, so now what we've got here is the two tracks, one for me, one for Arnab, so separate tracks. You can see here that when I'm talking, he is not, so we can edit those audio tracks separately. It's very similar to Descript's sequence editor. In fact, this is where Descript got inspiration from. It's from Digital Audio Workstation, like Pro Tools and others, and Reaper is just one of them. So first things first, let's make sure that we set the volumes correct for all of the tracks. To do that, I'll go to the actions. So first of all, I selected this track and I go to actions, and here I search for loudness, and that's what I'm looking for, normalize loudness of selected items and tracks. So I'll double click on that and we'll normalize to -14 LUFS. Now it's much louder, so we can work with that. And then let's normalize the other one. I hit the hotkey Command Shift N that I set up for this. So now both of my tracks are normalized, and now I can work with this. So first thing I want to do is I want to configure the intro. And in the intro, what we do is, remember we left this 3 seconds gap here? So we are going to move the music such that you see this bump here, this green line is a bit of a bump. So here's what's happening here. I have this music file inserted in here, and it has what's called a volume envelope. Green line shows the volume, the dynamic volume change that I've set up for this project. It's relative to the absolute volume of the track, so it's minus 13 decibels, so it's kind of quieter when people are talking over the music. Then goes a lot higher to 0 decibels, which means it's at the baseline, and then it slowly fades out as people start talking. So the way I want to do it is whenever the person stops talking, I have a beat, and then it continues after a few seconds. Let's play and see how it sounds.
It's like I have no idea why I'm seeing these things.
Hello and welcome to the Meta. Kind of like it, but I'm going to move it a little bit to the left.
Why I'm seeing these things.
A little more.
Why I'm seeing these things.
Hello and welcome. Okay, I like it now the way it is, and I'm gonna take this music and extend it all the way here. And what I am realizing is that I've never had an intro this long, so actually this music file is too short for this. So I'm gonna have to do some edits here, and I'll just make it very crude, but it's gonna work out fine, I think. Application, like the eye level that I'll just before. So I'm gonna single this track out. I know that the beat starts when I see this increase in the waveform. So I'm gonna slice it, I'm gonna make a copy, I'm gonna paste it here. Let's see how it works. So I need to make it a bit shorter. here, make it longer. Let's see how it sounds. Not very good, so I'm gonna change it a bit. It's not perfect by any means, but let's hear how it sounds with the speech on top of it. You have to pay more to get a certain shelf location, like the eye level, that aisle just before the cache. I would say I don't love it, but it's good enough. All right, so I've got the music here. The intro is done. Now I want to do the outro. And outro is not where it should be because in the previous episode was shorter. So I need to drag this outro bit to the end of the composition. I'm gonna do it like this, and I'm gonna listen to make sure that it's in the right place.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Okay,
Right.
bye.
Bye.
Let's see how it starts. You can also send us an email at hello@metacastpodcast.com. We always are elated to receive. I love it. It's good. Right, so the music part is done. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to clean up all of that stuff between. You can see if you look at the waveform that there are just small things going on here, in there, and these are kind of inhales, small noises, coughs, people drinking water. All that stuff does not belong to the final audio. And to clean this up, I'm going to use an automation. I'll just type silence here in actions. And that's what I'm looking for. The auto trim, split items, remove silence action. So double tap on it. And we'll set the threshold to -20 decibels, which means that anything below -20 decibels will be considered silence. Actually, we might even try and do -10, just experiment with it. We will ignore any silence that's shorter than half a second. I think that's fine. Yeah, I think these settings are pretty good, so let's just go for it. All right, so what happened now is it cut out all of those extra things in between of speech that did not add any value. Let's listen to those. Actually, let's single out this track and just hear what we have here. That was not needed. So some of those just need a bit of a manual cleanup. Yeah. So I'm going through the entire thing and removing them. Then I'm going to do exactly the same thing for our knobs track. And this time I'm going to use a shortcut, Command-Shift-S, that I set up for this. And I'm going to click Process. All right, so you see it cut out a bunch of stuff. And we're just going to clean up what's remaining, like these little things. We know they're not speech. I'm doing this for the entirety of the thing, and this processing is done. Now let's focus on the sound effects. So first of all, I'll select a segment where I speak a lot, and I'll single my track out, and I make sure that I have the repeat toggle on, so that it just keeps cycling and playing the same part over and over again. And I'll go to the effects screen, and here let me first turn off all of the effects so I can demonstrate all of them individually. I already have this in my template, but if you want to add a new one, you just click add, and a new effect can be added here. Like if I want to add an iZotope effect, one of the iZotope effects, I can just type it here and find it. Actually, let's add a deep plosive effect, because there was a problem with plosives as we saw in Descript. So I'm going to add that. So now we have a new effect here, but I'll turn it off for now. So the first thing is reverberation. Let's listen to the original thing first and see, and hear how it sounds. This is Metacast behind the scenes podcast where Arnab and me Now I'm gonna enable the de-reverb effect and hit learn so that it can learn the patterns, because it's based on machine learning, I believe, and it needs a bit of data to learn. So now we can unhit this learn button. Now it learned, and we can see how well it captured the reverb pattern by outputting reverb only. So let's play just the reverb that it's going to remove from it. So that's just how much reflection was going on in the room, and all of that is going to be taken out. So let's listen with and without reverb. So this is MetaCast behind the scenes podcast, where Arnab and me, Ilya, we talk about how we built a software company called... I think it sounds a lot better. Then the second effect I'm going to use is mouth de-click. When we talk, our saliva, our lips, everything we have in our mouth makes a lot of clicking sounds. They sound pretty bad. So let's enable de-click with all the default settings and hit output the clicks only so you can hear what's going to be removed from the audio. To me, this sounds like some kind of insect invasion, but that's going to be removed, so we will have a bit of a cleaner sound in the output. I don't have much noise going on, so I'm not going to use voice denoise for this particular episode. I am going to enable de-plosive. I'm not going to change any settings, so whenever I have those p sounds, they will just be taken care of by the effect. We don't need to validate that. That's just going to work. We know that. And then the last thing I'm going to turn on is EQ. EQ helps us make a sound more crisp. In EQ, generally there are 4 bands that you need to control. The first band is the low frequencies. So you can have some rumble noise, some humming, some cars passing by. All that stuff you can just cut out by doing this low shelf pattern, where it just cuts out everything that's below this frequency range. And then there are 2 more frequency ranges that do not sound very pleasant, and they are kind of in the same range for all voices, but they can be slightly different within that range. So I'll show you how I find those for my guests. Obviously for myself and for Arnab, I have already everything predefined, but I'm going to show how I would do this for somebody who has not been on the podcast before. So what I'll do is I'll just put this where it was in the middle, with 0, so that I can demonstrate this. So I'll turn EQ on and we'll start playing. And the way it works, I'm gonna drag this up and then move it left and right to try and find that place where it starts to sound really unpleasant. And particularly for the second band, I'm looking for kind of a booming sound, that's not very pleasant, and we are gonna find that and then reduce it. Let's look at this. Arnab and me, Ilya, we talk about how we built a software company called... So I think I found it. You heard that booming noise. So to counter that, I'm going to drag this thing all the way down like this. And that will reduce that frequency range, and there will be less booming in my voice. Behind the scenes podcast, where Arnab and me, Ilya, we talk about how we built... And we do the same for this range. So this frequency range sounds a bit kind of boxy, and you will understand when you hear it. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to raise it up, listen to it, and then drag it down to reduce the gain for this range. A software company called MetaCast. It is a podcast app that will do some... Do you hear it? It sounds pretty bad. So that's the range that I'm looking for, and I'm going to reduce it. Pretty amazing things that no other apps can do today, and or can do as well today. Sometimes if the guest's volume is a bit muffled, their voice is a bit muffled, we could also bring up the high frequencies a bit, but in our case, we are happy with how we sound. We don't do that. So this is EQ. I would do exactly the same thing for our nab or for our guests. I don't have to do it now because for our nab I always use the same setup. The only thing I would do is I would make reverb, relearn the pattern, because it may be different from day to day. So I'll just hit play.
What your personal takes on it, our experiences, and I think the crux of today's is small startup business and how can it help.
Right. So yeah, I will use the reverb for him as well. You may notice that I don't use a compressor here. I use an effect called tri-leveler. It's only available for Reaper, so you won't find it on any other digital audio workstation. It's a very simple effect. It acts as a compressor, as in if some volume is very low, it will bring it up. If something is too high, it will trim it down. Unlike compressors, you don't have to fiddle with a lot of settings here. You just set the loudness to what you want, -14 luvs, and the threshold and the gate speed to minimum, and it just works. It's magic automatically. The reason why I do this in addition to normalization is because normalization normalizes the average across the entire track, whereas tri-leveler will also do micro adjustments where maybe in a certain part of the speech just something goes too low and it will bring it up a bit, or maybe if there is a very loud sound, it will bring it down a bit. And I also have a limiter effect on my master track. Limiter basically just makes sure it doesn't go above 0 decibels, so that there is no peaking, there is no red, it doesn't go into the red, doesn't damage anyone's ears when they listen to this by accidentally jumping way too high. And then we'll render. So we'll go to File, Render, and choose the 192 kbps, MP3. Yeah, there is nothing I really want to change here. So I really think this is all great. And I'm gonna just render this as 43, hit render, and off we go. It's gonna take about 7 minutes to render on my Mac, and after that we will be ready to publish. So the next step is to create covers for the podcast episode and also for the YouTube video. For that we use Canva. We have a free account. We don't use any of the premium features. Actually, we do have a need for one of the premium features, but we don't feel like it warrants us paying over $10 a month to use it like 5 times a month or 4 times a month. So we have a workaround, and I'll show you what we do. So first of all, let me start with creating a YouTube cover. So we have this Canva document that has multiple covers from our previous episodes. So what we will do is I'll just make a copy of this, rename this to episode 43, say episode 43. I haven't come up with a title for this. Yeah, something like this. Becoming social media influencers, that will be the tagline. And the subtitle is The Thin Line Between Influence and LinkedIn Lunatism, because that's what we talked about on the podcast. It's kind of dorky. I'm not sure if I'm in love with this, but I'll go for it. Okay, so now you can see here how we use the images. We have images without background. And, so by the way, I'll copy this to the clipboard, so I have this for later. So now, these are the images that we took as squad shots when we recorded the episode. And now I need to remove the background from them. This is how we do this. So I will take this file and share it. I'll do AirDrop and I'll send it to my phone. Now I received it to my phone, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to press on this. And you can see that Arnab's outline got, magically outlined, and I do share, and I send it back to my MacBook. Yeah, this one. So you can see I got this file back with a transparent background. So I can use this for the cover. I've already done this for both files, so I already have them saved here. So what I'll do now, I'll go to Canva, go to Uploads, and upload those two files from here. So these are the files with the transparent background. There we go. So now I'll just remove these three and drop these two files here. I think I'll place Arnab here and myself, and I place myself next to him. I think that's gonna work. Maybe put myself in the background. So to create this template, we used one of the existing templates from Canva, and then we just modified the colors and added the logo. It was very straightforward. Okay, so now I have this, and I'm gonna export this file. I only need the current page, the latest one. I'll download, and there you go. Now I have my cover for the YouTube video. It already picks the name from the name of the document. There you go. Okay, so now I'll just copy these two guys. I'll go here. I have a similar document with square covers that we will use for the podcast, podcast apps. We duplicate this, change the episode number, remove Jenny's picture, I paste Arnab and myself. I think the resolution is different, that's why they come out so small. So we can do it like this. And I'll bring this to front. And I need to replace this part. So I already copied this to clipboard. So I can just take it from there. And I'll make this font larger. I wanted to take more space so it's more readable. So depending on the episode, on the title, we might shrink it or make it larger. So this one can be larger. And I'll add this stuff here. There you go. So we have our episode covers. I'll share this again. Okay, let me change the title. I just need the current one. Download. So yeah, now with this, I have my covers ready to go. All right, so now we are approaching the final stage of our process. So we have the video, we have the audio, we have covers. So now we need to put together episode description. And here's how we are going to do that. If you remember, in Descript, I made comments where new sections started. So here's how I do this. I use a Sublime text editor where I keep, well, in this case, it's just the last episode that we published. And it has a title, the description, the segments or chapters. It has links to different things related to our podcast. And it has a bunch of notes for our podcast in terms of like links to other episodes, links to books, links to shows, etc. What we are gonna do is we are gonna populate all that for the new episode. And then we'll copy paste this into Anchor and also into YouTube. So this is episode 43 and we have it somewhere in the clipboard. Yes, this is the title, Becoming Social Media Influencers. That's how we call the episode. And then here we'll have a description. So I need to come up with something cool. I think this is good enough. Yeah, so this is a very short description. The purpose of this is to get a glimpse into what we are going to be discussing on the podcast. The next thing is segments. So I'll just remove this whole thing from the last episode and copy the template. And as you can see, there are two timestamps here, and I'll explain why in just a moment. Here in Descript, if you remember, we had video without the intro. but audio is with the intro. So the timestamps will be different for YouTube versus audio. And I don't know if it's a feature or a bug in Descript, but when you create a comment and then later add an intro to the beginning, the timestamp here is still the old timestamp before the intro was added. So let's say I take this first experience with social media. So I'll just copy this comment and paste it here. And the timestamp is 2:39. I wish there was an export functionality. Unfortunately, there isn't. But if I go here to the comment, you see it's 3:12. So after I inserted the intro, it became 3:12. So we have two sets of timestamps. One for audio, the other one is for YouTube. So I'm going to go through all of these right now and populate these for both audio and YouTube. And then we will use this to publish our episode. Okay, so we are done with segments. As you can see, it's a very tedious process. It is very annoying that I have to do it manually. I wish there was some kind of function to just type it in as I go and then export it in different formats. But yeah, none of this exists, so I'm doing this manually. So now, you see there are two sets of timestamps. One for YouTube, one for podcasting apps. So here's what I'm gonna do with this. I'll copy this, paste it here at the bottom. So now I'm gonna select the whole thing here, and press Command-Shift-L, and that allows me to do multi-line editing. So first I'll remove this part. Now what I got here is YouTube. I'll just type it here so I don't forget. It's a YouTube segments with just the YouTube timestamps. And I'll take this, I'll select the whole thing, press Command-Shift-L, and I'll remove this middle part. Now these now only have segments for the audio apps. And the last thing I want to do is the show notes. So I'll just pull the links for all of the stuff that we've discussed. I'm not going to record this, I'll just do this and then we'll come back after I'm done. Okay, now we are getting to the next stage, publishing the episode, and this is the final stage. So we've got these show notes. First, let's publish to the podcast apps. And we do this through the Anchor service, which is now known as Spotify for podcasters. It's a free hosting, it's very basic, but it does the job. So I'll click new episode here, and you can sign up for it at podcasters.spotify.com. It's very easy. Create an account, do all that stuff. It's very clear. I'll select the file that we've just created. So that's the file, social media one. And now I go to Sublime and I just copy stuff from here. So we have a certain pattern. We have episode number dot and then the title. And we'll add the description here. So we'll just take all that and paste it here. So actually many apps don't support HTML, but oh boy, this looks really ugly. So yeah, I don't think we will do HTML. So we'll just do plain text for now. And then eventually I think we'll switch to another hosting provider like Transistor or something. And then we will do HTML there. I just don't like the experience here in Anchor. All right, so let's just quickly click here to make sure it's the correct audio file. You have to pay more to get a certain shelf location, like the eye level, that aisle just before the cashier. Yep, sounds good. It is the correct audio file. So we'll schedule this to be published on Wednesday, tomorrow, at 3:30 a.m. So that is gonna be 3:30 Eastern, or just after midnight Pacific. That almost helps us ensure that it comes out at on the same date in any part of the world. Well, I guess in Hawaii it will come out at 9 p.m. previous day, but that's okay. So there is no explicit content here, and I will add the episode number 43. We don't do seasons, and we will replace the cover art with that square picture that we've created. All right. So we will have nice looking episode specific cover with this. All right, so let's just double check everything. Looks good to me, and hit next. I never use any of those, and we hit schedule. That was easy. So now we'll publish it on YouTube. So go to YouTube Studio. I think it's studio.youtube.com. Yeah, that's the URL. And we will create a new video. Say upload. Select the file from here. That's our file. So while it is uploading, we can add all of the data about the episode. So we'll insert the description and segments. Remember, for YouTube, we have a different set of segments with different timestamps. So we'll take the second one and copy that. And also YouTube doesn't support HTML, so you have to do it in multiple formats anyway. Then we get this, add it here. There you go. So this is all populated. We will upload the thumbnail with the cover that we created in Canva. All right, and now it's not made for kids. Say next. We'll add an end screen from the previous video. I don't even bother about this because our viewership is still fairly small, so I don't want to necessarily spend time on this. Click next. So upload is complete. It's going to be processing shortly. Click next. It's public. We will schedule it to publish tomorrow on Wednesday. Let's just say it's 3:30 a.m. as well. And just say schedule. Then the last thing we want to do is we want to create an episode page for this on our Substack. And the reason why we do this on Substack is, we just want to have a link that people can go to, and we already have our newsletter on Substack. So we might as well just publish our episodes. Like if you go here, the podcast, you can see all of our episodes here. You can click them, and they have the links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube with all the show notes. So it just helps us, instead of giving links to Apple and Spotify and YouTube, we just give a single link to users, and then they can click whatever application they use. So we will take the latest episode and say duplicate to drafts. Now we have a copy of this. Again, we'll just do a very simple thing. Copy exactly the same stuff from Sublime. And replace the picture. We use the same YouTube cover here. So we reuse exactly the same things. Take the description. So this stuff, because we haven't published on Apple Podcasts yet, we are just going to remove the links for now, and then I'll add them tomorrow when it's published. But I will get the link for YouTube because it's already processing, and we can have the link. There it is. So that's the YouTube link. Okay, and these segments, what I like doing here is I actually will go to YouTube even though it hasn't finished processing yet. I can take this and copy it to Substack. The problem is it doesn't respect the bullet points. So I have to manually do this stuff. Just go here, press enter to create all of those bullet points. Again, it's annoying and manual. I hate doing this, and I think at some point we will build tools to automate this, because this is just not acceptable that people have to do this. I mean, we could just pay somebody to do this, but we don't make enough money to do that yet, to pay people. So I'm doing this myself. However, it should just all be automated. It doesn't make sense to do it this way. So then I take the show notes, and again, it will be bastardized because of this YouTube link. Oh boy, so so I have to create these links here like this. All right, and you noticed I had a typo there, so I'm just gonna go and quickly fix that everywhere. So I also want to change the titles here, so I'll just add Metacast to the page title for better SEO. Save this, and I'll change the URL because we like doing it like this, a triple digit number. I hit save. All right, so and when the episode is published tomorrow on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, I'll just grab the links from there and I hit publish. Actually, let's publish it now, and then I'll just add the links tomorrow. We don't need to do the email because we don't send our podcast via email. We just publish it on the web, and I'll set it to publish tomorrow at 3:30 a.m. just with anything else. Let's just let it be there. It's okay. And then I'll update it with the links when they become available. All right. So I'll do this. Publish the web only. We don't need to send it by email. And we are done. All right, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. It took me the whole day to do this episode, even though it usually takes me a lot less time because I'm not recording at the same time. But hope you find it helpful, or at least start to appreciate what it takes to create a podcast. So give us a follow, enable that bell icon, hit the like button, subscribe to our newsletter at metacastpodcast.com, and of course, download our podcast app at metacast.app. Thank you, and see you next time.